No thanks. I'm vegan.
Xbox Live!
Wahamina hamina ha? Yeah.
Hi, Pee-Pee. I got you a hat. What's wrong? You don't like it? Huh.
So, what's the occasion?
Jihad!
Yeah, I'm down.
Same.
Right. Welcome to the 24th installment of G-Pod, everyone. I'm Sack, the man behind the Super Riff channel. I'll be your host for tonight. So this is a special installment based on the Cool as Fuck Robot Collab, which we'll be calling the Robot Collab, hosted by Dat Mad Moose, which is also here with us tonight.
Hey guys, what's up? I'm Dat Mad Moose.
Mega?
Hey, 128 Mega. I'm here as well.
Yeah, I'm Pepper. I'm also here.
Hello, everyone.
That's Dandy.
Yes, sir.
All right. So we have a few topics to discuss tonight. I'll start out with the first one. So, as we all know, Robot Collab was 1 year in the making. It was a very arduous project with a lot of twists and turns. A lot of participants were involved, and I think it turned out amazingly. So, one question I have for everyone is, was it hard to juggle the collab with real-world responsibilities like university or work, etc.? Who's gonna go first?
Yeah. So, obviously, with any kind of project like this, there's always going to have to be like some kind of balancing act that you kind of have to do with like any kind of Gmod video, whether it's collab or not. Personally, for me, like the biggest thing that I had to juggle was school. So I had this schedule where I would like work early in the morning on the on my entry, and then like I would just go to school in the evening after, and like yeah, my schedule just kind of like worked out like that. So yeah, I guess I would say it was hard, but it wasn't exactly impossible. Also, compound onto that with like how I'm not really just like experienced with fighting animations as I was. So yeah, I'd say it was a little difficult.
Yeah, I relate to a lot of that. Okay. Mega, any thoughts?
Yeah, when it comes to juggling real world responsibilities while also doing a Gmod collab, I have a couple things that come to mind. Like, for instance, for the robot collab, there was a couple things that came up. One is that I was selected to be a vendor at Midwest Fur Fest during that time, which came to me as a huge surprise
Nice.
because I just kind of applied like out of nowhere, like, oh, they're not gonna fucking pick me. It's like the second largest furry convention in the world. Why would they do that? And then I did. So then I had to sit on my ass and work on sewing, and then while thinking about my shit for the robot collab. And then I also got sick while working on the robot collab afterwards.
Sorry to hear.
Like it was some sort of weird cold, and it was the day before I was about to work. I was going to bed like, okay, tomorrow I'm gonna set my computer and I'm gonna work. And then I woke up and I'm like, oh my fucking god, sick. Ugh! And I felt so bad. I was probably really apologetic to Moose, but uh, I tried to work my best through it, despite my sickness.
Moose is very accommodating.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Pepper.
Yeah, I had some college stuff going on, but they were like I wasn't doing a full semester, and animation in general, especially fighting animation, is just something that I'm really passionate about. So it didn't feel like work to me.
Hmm.
Besides that, I can't really remember a lot of stuff that happened at that time. I think maybe I also got sick. I'm not super sure. I think it was just college that was going on.
Well, it seems to be a common theme. All right, Dandy.
Alright, so initially, I did not have many real world responsibilities to juggle with the actual collab. Because the collab was basically announced like a year before the release, and at that time, I just like, without much thought, I just entered the collab with having two partners, Drama King and Toast. And at this time, like the early stages, the release date was kind of, or the due date for the entrance was kind of far. So I was thinking like, I'm gonna make this project huge. Well, not too huge, but I still had like a decent amount of ambition for it. And
Mm.
we started animating in like late July, early August, and we went with like a tennis workflow. So I would like animate, hand it off, and then it would go to Drama King, he'd animate, and then hand it off to Toast. And we were supposed to go through 3 full cycles of this. But unfortunately, we only got through 1 full cycle. And so when I handed off, um, okay, most of my animation parts, the beginning part mostly, that was done in late July, early August. And then I handed off to John Baduth, but then I realized that, we kind of have to start working simultaneously. So wanted to get to work like around September, October, but I actually started working more in November because like something kind of clicked in those months where I just could not animate at all. I guess you could call this the equivalent to an arts block.
Yeah,
And this
definitely.
was this was definitely amplified by the fact that the choreography was really hard to manage in that. Like I don't really use any references for my stuff that much nowadays. So the choreography and like because every time I had to load a scene, I was like, all right, how would this go? So I just keep doing that, and then I'm telling myself, oh, it's not good enough. I gotta rework this.
Mm.
So I would just keep cutting stuff, reworking, and changing it, and it was really unsatisfying. But eventually, in the end, like at the last week, that was when I was doing good. But since this is about real world responsibilities, that did actually, ironically start kicking up a notch in the last week. Although let me also stress that, like, this was not a good thing to happen. Like, I do really regret putting Drama and Toast through like, delaying so much. And that is also kind of why I respect Mad Moves because he did a lot of organization and he did a really good job handling the collab. So the last week was pretty much hell. I had to like put the grind on, and this was when the school was kicking off exams, schedule stuff, and maintaining an actual good sleep schedule. Toast, the poor guy, he was working. He said he was working 12 hours a day in Gmod,
Oh
and
my
he had to
god,
basically rush 3. But
more than a full-time job.
John Madu, though, John Madu was a trooper. We just handed him everything, and he just got it all done. He didn't really have to do much. And but eventually we did finish. There was a lot of mistakes we couldn't fix on time, and but I'm really glad that we finished the entry because the premiere, seeing everyone watch it was really nice.
Yeah, it turned out very well.
That's all.
I know Moose has something to add, but right
Yeah.
before yeah,
Sorry.
actually, no, go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah.
I was just going to
Go
add
ahead,
on
Moose.
to that like that kind of mentality of like, oh, I have a lot of time. It's actually very. I actually saw that a lot during the collab, and there's like really nothing wrong to like think that way. That's all I wanted to add.
Yeah, I really agree with what Moose just said. So,
Mhm.
like, like with you guys, I also had university to do during the robot collab. I started my first year. Well, not first year. Like the first semester of my final year in grad school. So I'll be graduating in May, and so I had to like work on my classes and my thesis and my part-time job along with the robot collab, which meant like ideally I would have been working on everything kind of like a little bit every day or something like that, but no, that's not how it turned out. I generally tend to like work on one thing for a few days, focus entirely on that, and then swap to the next thing for a few days. And that turned out like it turned out like with me being in October and November, like basically not being able to work on the robot collab, which I really regret. But at the same time, I think I was able to pull it together very well in the last month or so. So I had to finish up in December, and I needed a little extra time from Moose in January. And thank you, by the way, Moose, for being so accommodating to everyone that needed extra time, anyone that was working on other animation projects or other real life stuff.
Mhm.
You were able to extend the due date to
about 2 months.
Yeah, I think it was 2
Not
months.
even-
Yeah,
not even- more like 4 months
Yeah,
actually.
yeah.
Fun to work with.
I think the original deadline was like September, right?
October
Or
5th.
October 5th, yeah.
Yeah.
And then he changed it to December because a lot of people were just really busy. Like maybe like half of the participants, I think.
To be fair, it's kind of my fault because like I set the due date in the middle of like when people are going back to college, so that was definitely like a mistake on my end. Like I probably should have done it in like August, it's like summer's dying down, people had all summer to work on it, but yeah.
Well, I mean, often with projects, hosting a collab, I think this was your first time, right?
Yes. And I learned
Yeah.
a lot from it.
Yeah, hosting such a big project for the first time, you will inevitably run into like a lot of different obstacles that you hadn't considered, like with the timing. And one of the most important things I feel with hosting things is rolling with the punches. If there's something that's going on, I think a lot of people should do what you did and adapt their plan to what everyone else needs. And because you did that, Moose, it turned out amazingly.
Yeah, it was great. Everyone did a great job. I'm proud.
100%.
Anyone else have any thoughts about responsibility juggling, or if not, we can move on to the next topic.
I would like to say real quick that like sometimes I think it's more healthy to approach your work like that. There's always room to improve, and whenever how work of art is finished is when you just go, I cannot deal with this anymore. So sometimes you just gotta accept that like there's only so much one person could do, or three depending. But you just gotta learn. Like with my entry, I kind of had to accept that there were going to be a few mistakes in it, but we're still proud of it anyway. So it's okay to have some real world responsibilities in a way and struggle them. That's pretty much
Yeah.
it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I have something to say.
Okay, cool.
Just don't bite off more than you can chew. Be realistic. Don't
Oh.
try not to get too lofty. I mean, if you think you could do something, then do it. But if you have an idea of what you want to do and it's a bit lofty, just you take it, but take it easy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think
It's
honestly,
okay
even
if you
if
don't. I don't really make any sense to myself.
well, I mean, I do agree with what you're saying. If you accidentally bite off more than you can chew, just remember you can change your plan. Just do whatever you can is what I tell everyone who's joining a collab. All right, so let's move on to the next topic.
Mhm.
So, was this a first? Were there any like firsts for anyone in here for this collab? What I'm talking is like maybe complex fighting animations, or maybe advanced camera movements, or specific animation techniques. Moose.
Yeah, I can answer this. So if you go back to my channel, you're not really going to like see anything that can like indicate, hey, this guy knows how to like do fighting animations. Like the most you can probably see from my videos before the collab is just like a guy turning his head and then picking up something. And like so yeah, this finale entry was definitely like a big undertaking for me because like you have these two dudes, they're fighting for like God knows how long, 10 minutes. You need to come up with choreography that bounces off of each other. So it kind of goes from me not knowing how to do fighting animation at all to having to do all of this, which I will say was a little stressful, but it was also like I kind of appreciated the challenge of it, you know? So I think the biggest thing that I struggled with at first is just like pacing, because like if you like watch my entry for like a little while, you like notice okay, there's a pattern here. They get hit, they get separated, and then they'll just like repeat for like the first 3 minutes, and then like you'll start seeing later in the video that I start getting more comfortable by the end, and yeah, so I would say this would be a first for me, and I think that I did an okay job with it.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, I think you did very well.
Mhm.
Yeah. Mega?
Yeah.
Any thought? Yeah.
Yeah, I have some thoughts.
Hmm.
What was the question again?
Oh yeah, no problem. So like, were there any firsts for you in this collab?
Yeah. Okay, that was it. Yes, I was thinking about this. It really, I'm not really someone who does fighting animations. I've never. It's not that they're bad or I hate them. Just like I never really thought about doing them. So every time I see a collab and I want to do collabs, I see collabs, but they're all like fighting collabs. So I'm like, well, what the heck am I gonna do? I'm in this fighting collab. So I result to Tom and Jerry stuff all the time, just like weird, like hit him in the head with the pan, hit him in the face with a butt, some weird stuff, and I think PP really lends itself well to that. But so I have pretty much have yet to do a fighting scene, even though I've been in 2 fighting collabs. Though one first time thing I did for this robot collab was this is so stupid. I imported my very own original texture into Gmod. I was so proud of that. I'm so technically illiterate that it was just like a miracle that I could even get it in. It was the cow texture for the I don't even know what you want to call him. It's like, man pee with a
Oh
man
yeah,
pee.
the muscle version.
Yeah, muscle pee.
Yeah,
And also
that was really funny.
it was the first time debuting now that I think about it, it's the first time I debuted Sucklet. I actually 3D modeled and textured that Sucklet model, and with the help of Zetamation, I had it ported into Gmod. It's not on the workshop or anything, though I do have a legacy file if anyone's interested in
Nice.
downloading it.
Hey, if I may ask, Mega, so just for anyone in the audience who hasn't seen our entries yet, PP and Sucklet are they're plushies, right?
Yeah, they are products by a company called Item Label. They're not really toys. They're more like just like they're collectible plushies. They're sort of more like art, like talking pieces. It's a weird looking Furby looking thing. Put it on your shelf. Your friend comes over and they're like, "What the hell is that?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's pee." And they're like, "Oh, okay, I'm leaving."
It reminds me of Furby.
I think it's supposed to be like Furby. Like if like Furby had a wild nemesis. What do you call that when animals have like arch nemesis, like the
Like,
mongoose and the snake or whatever?
I can't really think of any other
Predators?
terms.
Yeah, it's like that.
I mean, are they competing for the same food? Is that what you mean?
No, well, I think PP eats peanuts, and I don't know what Sucklet eats.
I did not know he ate something.
The souls of the damned.
But just to be
Okay.
clear, PP is not my original character. PP nor Sucklet are original characters. They're products of Item Label Corporation or whatever the hell they're called. But
Yeah.
I've really attached myself to them, and I have my PP right here next to me. I'm holding him. I
Oh,
can't really get him
nice.
to squeak though. He squeaks, but the squeaker sucks.
It was very cute that you implemented a cartoon style because that's not what most people do for fighting collabs. It ended up being very unique.
I don't really know anything else. I've grown up my entire life drawing cartoons and watching cartoons. It's just sort of what I know.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. You can develop your own style.
Thank you.
All right. Pepper, any thoughts? Do you have any firsts for this collab?
Well, it's a few things that I definitely figured out while I was working on my Robot Collab entry. So, what the first one is text effects. I in my part, I wanted whenever the robot would like scan something, I wanted there to be like a little cool little sci-fi transition where the text pops up on the screen. And I ended up just kind of teaching myself how to do like one of those TV static moving things. It's if you look at it, you'll know what I'm talking about. Like I can't really describe it, but that's one thing. And the other one, Zach, you actually taught me how to do this. It's fizz underscore timescale, and this works really well with Pedal's macro tool
Oh yeah.
because the issue the issue with rendering with the macro is that if you have anything welded, then the welded object is going to lag behind the thing that's recorded. So
Yeah.
fizz timescale, if you set it to 10, it's gonna speed all the ragdolls up. So that delay doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, and that's
And
actually really. Sorry, I just wanted to delve into this for a second. Yeah, so Fizz timescale, for anyone who is not informed, is one of a series of timescale commands that are present in Gmod. So the source engine lets you control like how fast things go, from like with 1 being the normal speed to 10 being like 10 times faster, or 0.5 being half the speed. You can control things like the host timescale, which is how fast the host's game is, like the entirety of everything. That's the host timescale. Or you can specifically make physics faster, like welded objects, which you can set to like 10 or 20. And the way this works is because Penel's macro, for context, is it's a tool made by another YouTuber, Penel Akashari, who has been helping develop Stop Motion Helper. Stop Motion Helper is pretty much like the biggest stop motion tool that all Gmodders use. And with this macro tool, you can pretty much not need to take screenshots of every frame by yourself. And the macro helps you do that. However, there are still some engine limitations. If you have it go too fast, then the physics will lag behind a bit. That's why you need to do things like physics timescale and make physics a little faster again. Yeah. Sorry for interrupting you, Pepper.
No, it's fine. You explained it better than I did. And the last thing, the character that I made, Chainsaw Mark. So this isn't a model and a weapon that I just put together. Every single piece is a separate model, and they all had separate timelines because of that. Since SMH, when you spawn a ragdoll and you select it with SMH, every single bone goes into the same timeline. So basically, the lower body, the torso, the head, and the chainsaw all had separate timelines. And that was definitely a new thing for me to deal with. It was easier in some ways, and it was more difficult in other ways. But it was really interesting, and I definitely want to work with Chainsaw Mark again.
I'd like to see more of him. He's a very interesting and very scary concept. Yeah. Dandy? Were there any firsts?
Not really. I always like doing action. That's just how I prefer to do stuff.
Awesome.
Camera movement, full body. Although I will say I still hate. I'm very bad at timing. So scenes that involve lip sync and slow pauses, I'm terrible at those. So I just really like. I have much more fun imagining fun action scenarios in my head. But no, I don't really do much new in this collab except collaborate with 2 other people.
Yeah, that was actually really impressive. 3 of you working together. If you guys watch that again, they started off as like the watermark in the little lower right started off as 1 person, then 2 other people came in. How did you guys think of, like, if I may ask, how did you guys think of working together as a group of 3 instead of just 2 or 1?
So it's kind of funny because I think it was like the robot collab was like at talks in like January of last year, 2023.
Yeah.
And I remember like Drama. This is kind of vague in my memory, but I remember Drama King like being in the chat somewhere also talking about the collab, and then I was like, let's collaborate. And then Toast was also there. I definitely knew Toast was also there, and he said something. But and then we just had like a little conversation. But then I just posted an image of like image where like you see 2 people next to each other, and there's like a scan where you can see like their neurons linking together or something. And it's like, right, all 3 of us are collaborating right now.
Oh, nice. So it was like a spur of the moment.
We didn't discuss the details much. We just immediately hopped straight into it.
Nice. I got the impression you guys are good friends.
Oh yeah, this collab. Me and Drama were at talks since 2022,
Cool.
and we both of us started to talking to Toast. Toast is a really good guy. He's a talented animator. He's just yeah,
That's good. I'm glad. Yeah.
we still talk after, and we have plans. Not to
Oh
clarify,
yeah.
like we discuss our own individual plans with each other, and it's just fun to bounce off each other in private. And this, I am kind of grateful that I was got to have that friend group.
Yeah. That's nice. Yeah. I mean, working together with friends is like something that a lot of us dream of. I imagine because you already have chemistry. You don't have to like figure out how to talk with each other. For instance. Yeah. All right. Great. Awesome. So for me, I had a few firsts in the robot collab. Mm, One notable one was weaponless fighting. So I don't have that many animations, admittedly, and they're all very short, but almost none of them have to do with like bare fist fighting or like, using the weapons God gave you, as people say. So I decided to give myself a challenge. A few challenges actually, but in regards to weaponless fighting, I made a whole new character and I had him just clone himself. Make clones, and they don't. The idea was they don't fight with anything except for themselves and maybe whatever's in the environment. That broke down a little bit near like the second half, but I tried to pull that off as long as I could. Um, Also, this is not a first technically, but I never really used it in a long animation. But smears, you might have watched Across the Spider Verse and seen like all these smears and like very comic like effects, and they're like combined with like animation on twos and everything. Yeah, smears are something I picked up from other animators. I learned it from Gmodders like Spicy Hamburger or Carapic, which we'll see entries from later on. And I think it works really well with my own snappy animation style. I like personally animated characters that have very quick movements that move in like 1 or 2 frames, but like there's some nuance to it. But the idea is they're so fast that you only see the beginning and then you see the end. And you see like the bounce back, like the result that comes from the end.
Oh yeah, I really like the. I definitely agree with you. I love that kind of stuff, and I think you handled it really well. There was like a lot of manipulation you had to do when it came to the particles and doing complicated shots. I
Yeah.
think you just this
Thanks,
was a
man.
very very nice entry.
Thank you.
Consistent, really good animation.
I like to mix different techniques together. Okay. So if nobody has anything else to add about this topic, we can move on to the next one. All right. So our next topic is what is your favorite power? Let's self-indulge a little bit. Um, yeah. So what's your favorite superpower, and what thought process do you have when choosing one for your character? Like for this collab specifically.
So I guess I can start. So I didn't really have like any specific thought process going into like making the fighter for my entry. I kind of just like have this thing where like whatever I'm doing at the time, whatever video game I'm playing or whatever I'm watching, I just take from that and just like steal from a bunch of sources, and then turn it into its own separate thing. So while around the time I was coming up with my entry for Robot Collab, I was playing a lot of Elden Ring, and there's actually a boss in that game that like summons golden weapons, and he can like combo with them, like he can go from a sword slash into a hammer, and it's like probably like the coolest kind of like fighting style I've ever seen. So it's like, yeah, I'll take that. It also my thought process was also like this guy has to be kind of like an overpowered kind of guy because I wanted to have the robot just kind of like copy all the abilities from the entries and use them to fight him. So
Like a
yeah,
final
that's like
boss.
yeah, like a final boss exactly. So that's all I have to add to that.
Cool, cool. Mega.
Yeah.
Um.
So, in terms of powers, in my video, or my entry, it was a weird idea. It's something that I'd already been bouncing around my head for a while. Originally, I was thinking it would be a bunch of different PPs that would come together and form like a like a singular body out of just different PP. Um,
Hmm.
and I was thinking, well, that's gonna take too long to make. I'm gonna have to use the composite bone tool and do this and that and weld and all that crap onto like a rag doll. And then Moose actually, while I was thinking about that idea, Moose sent me a picture of PP's. It was the heavy with a PP head, right, Moose? Something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and like that was already the idea I had going in my mind, but really have to credit Moose for getting the idea sort of pushed, because I think without that I wouldn't have really come to the conclusion that I did. So I just it's just a really basic, like it's that one buff Winnie the Pooh model with a custom texture on it and just Peepee's head on top. Same for Sucklet.
I
Um,
must
Simple and funny.
sorry.
yeah,
Okay.
I
simple.
must say your version was a lot less scarier than mine. So
Well, I don't think that's necessarily a positive thing. I would really
uh,
prefer PP to be scarier, but
mm.
still. But in terms of choosing, in terms of choosing that power, uh, I do what I always do. I just fly by the seat of my pants and I just make stuff up along as I go along, and just buff PP was whatever was on my mind at that time. But yeah,
That's nice.
yeah.
If you ever want to in the future, yeah, if you ever want to in the future look at making ragdolls out of different props, you should consider looking for the prop ragdoll tool. It's another tool that Penelok Ashari has made.
I did not know about that. I'll look into
Yeah.
that.
Mhm. Okay, Pepper.
Okay, so I definitely think that my favorite power in the collab was Dandy's door power, just because it's just like so versatile. Because it's like you can hit people with doors, you can walk through them and go to other places. And reminds me of Faust from Guilty Gear. But
Yeah.
besides that, the thought process that went into Chainsaw Merc was I was kind of going for like a slasher villain thing where he seems like where it's like you think he's dead and then he comes back. So I made a toolkit to reflect that for him with the chainsaw and the being able to shift his body parts around and coming back from the dead and the portals. And when I made him, this was actually a while ago. Like I think he's like just been sitting in my dupes folder for like a few years. At the time, I was playing Cry of Fear, so in a way, he's sort of based off of Saw Runner, who's one of the bosses in that game. But then I ended up using Killing Floor sound effects for Chainsaw Merc.
Nice.
I love
I was gonna say. Oh, sorry, Danny. I was just gonna say portals are really cool when you mentioned the doors. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Danny. Sorry. Go ahead.
I was just saying I really liked the way Pepper used the chainsaws. They were really nice. But about superpowers, I haven't really thought about it previously. I mostly just prioritized good action. But it is worth noting that good action does come from having powers. And for my character, I remember I was like I just needed when coming up with him, like the thought process was I just needed someone to put inside a fighting collab. Within that fighting collab was Rush too. And so I just took a soldier and I said, let's make him like physically exaggerated, like he can, you know, uh like he can punch really hard, run really fast, jump really high, just all that basic stuff. But I also decided to add something extra. I wanted to add like a simple power that you could do a lot with because I think that's much better than just having like a collection of really complicated powers that are all different. No, it's better to. I think it's better to just have like one power that you could do a lot with.
I love those.
I remember Camouflage's character. I looked at his character and I remember how like the only thing he could do was just spawn in bricks or cinder blocks. And out of that, he managed to like create a hammer, like control the cinder blocks and like make a cinder block fist or something. It was like kind of funny how it's just like a simple object and be able to be utilized like that. So I just instantly thought of, okay, let's do something like that. Doors are cool. So I put in doors. And there wasn't much thought into the portal part. I just thought, let's make them into portals. And I guess he can turn golden doorman, super doorman. That was supposed to be just kind of a gag for when he first appeared in the Rush 2 collab. I wanted to do so much more with him for the robot, but we were running out of time and I had to use him as a gag. But I think I definitely would like to explore him more sometime.
Oh, cool. I think Mega had something to add, right?
I do. It was something that occurred to me while I was listening to Dandy. Um, I just realized uh I think part of the reason why I wanted to make PP like buff PP for this video is that I'm frustrated by the lack of mobility that PP has, because PP is just like a prop, like a static prop, no bones or anything. So putting his body on a body gives me the ability to move him like a human person, give him a bit more personality. Though I still do believe that PP has a lot of personality on his own.
Hmm. That's nice.
That's basically it.
Cool, cool. Yeah. So my favorite power is, it's probably a little cliche, but it's like power copiers, people that can copy other people's powers. Mega Man was a huge influence on my own characters. I still love that character to this day. So for I don't really have a hard process for choosing powers, but I usually take an idea I like from media. I get inspired with some general concept, and I go as far as I can with it. So it's similar to how Dandy chose his like doors for his character. Two of my characters, Sulfur and Cody, from the two Rush collabs, it came from ideas of light manipulation and like a gun that can just shoot anything. So I just took something that's kind of simple and I have them do just crazy stuff with them. All right. If nobody else has anything to add, let's move on to the next topic. Okay. So, did you guys make a pre-existing? Sorry, did you guys use a pre-existing character for this collab, or did you make a whole new one from scratch for Robot?
So I kind of went with the approach of just like making a completely new character. I'm not really like into like lore building unless like people are going to watch it, so I don't tend to like really make anything that deep. So
Mm.
I just like made a new character because like I knew the robot had to fight somebody powerful if he's going to be using all of these abilities. So I just said, hey, he's a shirtless scout, and yeah, he's got all these weird powers, and that's all I had to say about that.
Cool, cool. Mega?
I already touched on PP not necessarily being my character, so
Right.
I won't spend too long on this. Though on the
Yeah.
topic of like character building, I think Moose mentioned I really would like to add some more character building to my own PP. Because when you have a PP, it's yours. It's like your pet. So I'm really looking forward to building onto the lore of PP, though it's sort of still bounce around in my head.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Pepper, any thoughts?
I mean, like I already mentioned that I made Chainsaw Mark quite a
Yeah.
while ago, like definitely before 2021. But what's funny is that when I joined Robot Collab, I actually wasn't sure which character I wanted to use yet, and I was looking through my dupes folder, and that's when I remembered that Chainsaw Mark existed. Yeah, that's kind of it.
It's always nice to bring up an old character that you dumped once and thought, oh, I will never use him. You never know, right?
Yeah.
Chainsaw Mark
Okay.
peak.
Yeah, I think he's really cool. Dandy?
Yeah, thank you.
I just I don't really make a unique character for one. I just use the doorman. Although I did have to make some changes to him. Like first is in previous to or prior to the robot collab, his doors would just be green screens and then have to use some camera trickery. But now I just added some kind of red portal in, which definitely helps a lot. For other collabs though, like action ones, I'll probably make a new character though because I really just like making stuff that's like just like comes out of the top of my head and that I could do a lot with. I already have like a mental list of TF2 fighting characters that I could get to exploring. I'll about do it someday.
Oh, cool. Looking forward to that too. So, as for me, I made a new one. I generally make a new character for every collab I enter. It's kind of like a tradition for me now. I didn't give him a specific name, so in the credits you see him called Clone Guy, and like that's just a riff on Doom Guy. So in the past year, I've actually been taking power inspiration from like other shows that I like childhood shows like Ben 10. So I know Scorpion was about to ask me something about this. So the clone power actually was inspired by Echo Echo, a little alien that clones himself, but he also has this like screeching audio like gimmick power. I only took the clones, and I was like, let me do something else. All right, Mega, I think you had something you wanted to say, right? Just a shout out, quick shout out.
Just today's Groundhog Day. I just wanted to give a quick shout out to the groundhog. He did not see his shadow today, so we're gonna look forward to an early spring.
Let's
God bless
go.
America.
Right, this is our this is our first all American podcast. In general, it's been either mixed American and European members or just European members. Okay, cool. So
Yeah, we are the superior time zone. No, I'm kidding.
that's what we like to tell ourselves. Okay.
We were not prepared for this. Cheeseburger.
Yeah. All right. So let's use our remaining time to move on to our last topic before we get to the video reviews. So, should collab finales be big? Because there has been a trend of increasingly longer and more ambitious finales, and I would just like to know your thoughts about that.
So I was kind of the opinion a couple of weeks ago that like yes, of course, finales should be big. You're planning out this conclusion to probably months and months of work that people are doing. Like you kind of have to like make something to send them off. I realize now that that isn't really a healthy mindset, especially for not for everybody. Like we're all at varying skill levels. So I think like the best thing to do is like try to have like some kind of good send off for your collab, but also like maintain it within like your skill set. That's what
That's
I
fair.
would say. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
If
Mega?
I could go next.
Yeah.
I really I've never hosted a collab or anything, so I guess I really wouldn't know as much as maybe Moose, because he hosted obviously the robot collab. But if you ask me, it's your collab. You could do whatever the hell you want. It's your show. It's your pony ride. It's your rodeo, man. Uh, but and I do concur with like having a healthy mindset. Don't push yourself too hard. Don't give yourself too big expectations. And if the participants of a collab don't like that you didn't have a super big explosive finale, then whatever, that's their problem. Like, at least if you ask me.
All right. That's an interesting take.
Okay. I think it really depends on whether the host can deliver on a long finale. Like, if they're more comfortable doing a short finale, but it's better than if they were to do a long finale. I think in the end, it's the impact that matters. And I just in general, I feel like a lot of people neglect the fact that videos in a collab have to be treated differently compared to standalone videos pacing wise. You have to think differently about exposition, how you're going to introduce things, how much time we're going to spend on between each story beat. It's very different. So that's what makes the finale of a collab so important. You can't let all these people down, all these people that worked for you, all these people that are watching the collab, sitting through like 30 minutes to an hour to 3 hours, I don't know. But yeah, that's what I think about it.
Okay. What about you, Dandy? What do you think?
So I agree that with a collab, if you're a host, you definitely have more responsibility compared to like a personal project. Because like what people really like is payoff. And it's always better to have something finished than delay it. So like as a host, you should be like, giving a collab like it should be like a first priority but when you're hosting it. So I think it's a good practice to have the intro done before announcing a collab. So that way you can focus on organization and working on the finale. Which I would also say that having the finale planned out at like the early stage of collab is also definitely useful. So I really like what Mad Moose did for the robot collab. I really respect it because like I heard him acknowledge some flaws with the intro finale as he's doing it, but instead of like delaying it, remake it, he stuck hard until a release date. And he was really extremely cooperative with everyone. And this finale, it turned out really good. But I have seen some other collab hosts be completely stuck on their finale and having to delay their collabs for years, which can go horribly wrong. In one case, for like a host for a collab I was in, he was concerned about meeting up to the standards of like other entries. He was avoiding like, or I guess what a lot of I've seen a lot of collab hosts tend to go like, oh, all the entries are so good, but mine is not good enough. And I don't think you have to worry about that. I don't think you should make it necessarily ambitious or directly better. I think you just have to act like it's your own entry. Just bring it, just be unique instead of, maintain a high quality. Like Mega said, you shouldn't really push yourself. Just bring what you can to the table. Just be confident in what you have for a finale that you know, should prepare at the early stages of the collab. And I don't know if Mad Moose had the collab finale planned at the end, but I think it worked out really well in the end. And that's all.
So Danny does like bring up a lot of good points there with like different critiques. I didn't actually have my intro done until like after the collab announcement. So if you like go back, you'll like definitely notice that it's not as high quality as it is in the finale. And like I like know now like, hey, you need to like plan out everything before you announce it. And that's definitely something I did like I do now. It's also I also feel like you just like if you think a finale is good, then you can just take as much time as you want with it. If you think it's going to be great, if you think that people are going to love it, I think people can afford to wait like a couple of months. But like I'm just like I'm a pretty flighty personality, so like hey, just get it out. Just make sure people aren't as mad as you think they will be, even though they'll probably be fine with it. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I guess there's also like some kind of like with the collab host should also like not be imprisoned by his own project. He should just get it over with and realize that when he's like screwed up or when something hasn't gone right, just overall get it over with and you will not regret it. But yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with the feeling that you might have to like live up to a standard, but ultimately it's your collab. So I agree with a lot of what you guys are saying. I think it depends on the host's skill and comfort level. And I don't think it should be a hard requirement to make a huge finale. I think it can be made either way. It can be made well either way. You can have a really good short one as a good send off, or a long one that can also be really good.
I agree.
Yeah.
Very true.
All right. So I think it's about time to get to the video reviews. So we have a few entries that we have gotten permission to talk about more and share our thoughts about from the Robot Collab. So our first one is from Deku, who has also commonly been known as Over.
So I must say that I really love Deku's entry, also known as Tito and Over. Um it was just like an all-around great entry. I love the choreography. I think like this collab has had a weird amount of people who have had like 3v1s. So it's really great that he's able to pull that off and like with flying colors, honestly. I will say that the ending was a bit rushed, but like that's totally fine because like it's still like a really great entry. Like I don't care how you end an entry. If it's like if 99% of it is good, then it's just then it's just fine. I don't care how you end it. I will say that the voice acting was a bit spotty, but like, come on, like none of us are voice actors here. Like, we can't really expect much. So, I also like the use of guns too. I don't. I think this is like the most. It's going to be weird to say. It's kind of like the most melee centric entry, while also being like gun centric. So like you have people firing at the robot copies that, then the robot fires at him. I especially like the part where the robot like lunges at, I think it was like the spy. I don't exactly remember, but yeah, it's so overall great entry, and like he even like showed me when it was first uploaded, and I was like, oh my god, this is so good, man! Like holy shit, yeah, and yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Mega, any thoughts about Cheeto's entry?
I mean, yeah, it's obviously very well executed animation wise. Yeah, I mean, you already know me. I'm like a Tom and Jerry ass animator. I don't really judge animations based on like fighting choreography or anything. I wouldn't really know anything about that, though. I do think it's very fluid and fast paced in those terms. But in terms of the animation, like just um the technique and how things are moving, and it's very fluid, very expressive. The lip syncing and gesturing when people talk also very good. It's a very strong entry, just all in all, basically.
Yeah. Pepper?
Yeah. Yeah. As usual, Deku has really great clothes wrestling effects. You don't see that a lot. Off the top of my head, I can't really think of anybody else that does stuff like that besides Deku. And he's got like great choreography, really good camera work. Like he got that extra movement in the camera on a frame that otherwise could have been completely still, and it really adds to what's going on.
Yeah,
Like
I really agree with
I
that.
agree.
I'll get into that later. Dandy?
So Deku's entry, well, so I had to collaborate with two other people to make a 3v1. This guy did it on his own, and he still made it like almost 4 minutes long. So I applaud to him for that. It's consistently great too. Like all the animation and sound effects, they're really good. And I love like the parts where like Deku's character clashes with the robot. I particularly love those fight scenes because they have the kind of like fast pace and like snappiness that you know I it kind of reminds me of Ken animations in a way. But
It does,
his
yeah.
his Gmod technique is also he did a lot of I noticed like really great usage of like particles and like it was mentioned earlier, like the clothing reacting to the wind and the environment, and that is like I could not do that. I could not sit through that. So major props to him.
Yeah. I love the camera shakes too. Yeah. So I thought his entry had a lot of like really comedic, but also like badass energy from all of the characters, especially and including the robot. It reminds me a lot of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. So I think there was a good mix of characterization and badass moments. And like that's usually hard to get a good balance of. Like often you see a lot of videos, animations that like lean a lot into like combat and like maybe a little bit of edginess, and a lot that are just really funny. But you don't always see one that has both almost equally and like have and has these two elements like build upon each other. My only critique is it's a little hard to understand who those three characters are if you haven't watched his previous videos, but that's not really like anything against him specifically. That's a common like scenario in a lot of animations. But yeah, it's still very cool. I love it so much. I think you guys have little to add, right?
I do. Camouflage mentioned it in the chat, and I have to echo this sentiment, like just verbally, that the way that the clothes move is also very impressive. If you're not a Gmod animator, you really wouldn't think about it, but knowing how to animate and having animated in Gmod, like seeing clothing aspects of a model moving, it's really impressive. There's a lot of intricate detail and little bits and pieces that you just don't think about that move individually. There's a scene where like the clothes are like there's wind blowing, all the clothes are rustling. It's so impressive. There's such a huge attention to detail, and I love the world's biggest pan at the end. I just makes you crack up.
Yeah, that was really funny.
I just want to say that the funniest part of the whole collab, like the funniest joke of the whole collab was like when his friend was going like he's getting away, he's like no, and then he like grapples onto the robot and his body just gets like coiled and distorted for like a second. I was like laughing for like a good hour.
I got to go back and look at that again. All right. So if nobody else has anything to add about Deku Tito Over's video, we can move on to the next one. So the next entry we're covering is Spicy Hamburger's entry. So his entry is not available publicly on his channel yet, so I'm gonna link only his like just his channel in the chat. But yeah, I thought this one was really good despite its short length.
Yeah, I also really loved it. Spicy is a really great character animator. If you like go back into his entry, you can just like see the scout like breathing like a zombie, and like it looks great. I remember he had a lot of trouble with like how he like rose up, and like uh he said that like slow animations were hard, and yeah, of course they're hard. Uh yeah, also like the animations for the robot are really cool, and I think like the transition from going from ones to twos is also really well done. Um, it almost doesn't even feel like he switched the frame rate. It's just that good. It just like looks slightly choppier. It's a shame that it's so short, but yet again, like it doesn't really matter. It's just like the ending doesn't matter. It's just like what's in the entry is like what I care about, and everything that is in the entry is good.
I agree. So Mega, any thoughts?
It's not often that a Gmod animation could give someone chills. It
Oh yeah,
uh, just you know, it's a very simple setting. There's basically only characters and lighting throughout the entire video, but it's still probably the strongest entry in the entire collab, in my honest opinion. There's a lot of intricate moving and just subtleties, and you know, like the breathing and just the way that the scout's body is just reshaped. Just something about just having bigger forearms gives it a lot more of a creepy vibe, and obviously it's I don't know how to put it into words. I'm just sort of flabbergasted, and and my favorite part has to be the little just gun at the end. Love it. I love that cop out. It's my favorite.
yeah. Pepper, any thoughts?
Um, the build up to the reveal of Wepass, that's the scout's name, by the way. I don't know if that's
Whip
supposed to
ass.
be public. Yeah, yeah.
I didn't
The
know. I'm
yeah,
so sorry.
the build up was really good. And the way the background light transitions and the lighting changes, and that was also really interesting to watch. And the way the robot moves, I think this and a few other entries that the animator thinks about, how can I make the robot move like a robot? But I personally think that Spicy did it the best. And there's another thing. If you pay attention to this stream, it's not gonna show up for a bit, but when Wepass summons his sword, you can see him breathing, like his chest kind of expanding and shrinking just a little bit. And in every slow motion shot, every single slow motion shot has great composition, which is really good because you're gonna be looking at it for 1 to 2 seconds. But yeah, this is a really good entry.
Definitely.
Yeah, the attention to detail was awesome in this one. Dandy?
You know, Spicy is what we call a wizard. He like I've never seen like I mean I haven't seen like a better understanding of emotion and weight from like a Gmon animator before, and to be able to like execute that in the program, it's like it's not even easy to like smooth it out like the way he did either, because the whole body is moving, so you still gotta add some kind of snappiness to it. And I would say though that that ending is probably one of my favorite like entry cut short endings. Though I do wonder if he considered animating, if he was aware that like he could animate like the camera on once, because I was thinking that like he could have done that here, but you know there are obviously some situations where you know you can't have the camera on once because you know Gmod restrictions. But it, I just wondered if he considered it. But you know,
Yeah.
overall, I think he like nailed the style really well.
Yeah. I agree. I really love the atmosphere he's established in this video. And I often have a soft spot for entries that are like really short but specialize in one thing. And I think here it's the creepy vibe that he has with this character. He barely feels human. He's like a weird like zombie kind of thing, but not quite, you know? I love that. And Danny, what you mentioned earlier about animating cameras on ones, I started doing that in the second half of my entry, and I think it's a little easier than it seems, because all you really have to do is, this is getting a little technical for those who are not animators of the audience, but when you do your animations, you can leave your tweens disabled, have your characters be animated on twos or threes or however much, and you can animate, like when you go animate your camera, turn tweens back on, animate it like normal, and just record every single keyframe. It might take a long time, but if you set up keybinds, it gets easier. Then when you turn tweens back off at the end, your camera will be in ones, and everything else will be in twos or threes. Yeah. All right. So if nobody has anything else to add, we can cover our last video for this podcast. We have something else afterwards also, but this is going to be the last review for today. So the next one is going to be Carrot Pick. We call him Chips. So I'm not extremely familiar with how his channel name is pronounced.
Yeah, so a great thing about Chips' entry is that like their fighting style isn't really like anything that we've seen from other entries. Like the robot is fighting a common rider, so like they're very like athletic, they're jumping around. And that's what you basically see through the entry. You see a lot of creative choreography given that idea. I also appreciate how he uses like smears and different things. Like he literally took like a brush pop, painted it blue, and then like made that an impact effect. And I think that is like so creative and like just a generally great thing to do, to the point where like I basically stole it for the finale. So
Me too, for mine.
yeah, everybody stole it because it's so good. So yeah, like I think my favorite part of the entry is like when they're sword fighting, and like and the common rider just kind of like zooms around the room almost like he's playing the floor is lava. It's almost like a sword fight, but like they both can't really touch the ground. It's also that breakdancing move too is also really good. Oh, I'm done.
Yeah, there were a lot of really cool parts to this. Mega, any thoughts?
Yeah, this is also a very strong entry. I really don't know anything about Common Rider or anything of the sort. I will say it's very like it's very much like a Super Sentai sort of fight scene though. If I remember
Yeah.
anything from like Power Rangers or whatever, it's very strong. There's a lot of really great choreography, I believe, and I'd like to just mimic that. The smear frames are also very nice. It gives it a lot more impact than it would have just by default. You really don't you really take smear frames for granted. You know, you just don't think about how much they can impact the final look of an animation.
Yeah. I like that he has like neon, like bright blue and bright red smears. They're right front and center. And the shockwaves too, they allowed to this video.
Color
Yeah, overall
contrast.
it's very strong.
Yeah. Pepper, any thoughts?
Yeah, as a kid, I grew up watching Power Rangers and Go Lion, and this entry made me wish I was watching Kamen Rider instead. So this entry definitely has the tightest fight choreography. It's just constant back to back action, just trading blows. You don't know what's gonna happen next. Really good special effects, like the smears and the little impact circles, and everything, basically everything, and really good lighting. This is a custom light warp. I can't remember which one it is, but it's it opts for a more cell shaded approach compared to what shading in Gmod typically looks like, which is more realistic.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was also a really good entry.
It's so cool. Danny, any thoughts?
You know, Chip is the GOAT without a doubt. His entry was probably like my favorite entry of the whole collab. It was just like throughout the whole thing, it was just consistently great. I love his animation style. And you know, his particle work also, it's like Deku's entry. I would not be able to do that for like 3 minute video. Impossible. And you know, his music choice also. When I first heard of like the first time I saw Chip's stuff was in Rush 2 back in 2022. And I remember when the premiere ended, like the first one of the first things I did was just go to his entry and look up the song he used. And for Robot Collab, when he started posting his work in progress just for this entry, the first thing I did was ask him what music he used. And you know, to this day, that introduced me to a lot of stuff because I didn't know anything. Like you know, I've never interacted with Kamen Rider or Tohu, but you know, nowadays those songs are in my playlist still, and
Hell yeah.
is is just all around great animator. I can't wait like see what else he has in store.
So I just wanted to add on to what Dandy said about music choice, and I definitely think that was like the hardest part of me for making my entry. I would like to actually thank Pepper for like recommending me a bunch of music that I could use, and I ended up actually using some tracks.
Yeah. I really liked Chips' part. I don't watch Kamen Rider either, but the special card abilities were really effective. They are pretty much like the Sentai series that you watched as a kid, and you're like, wow, like Sword Vent, what is this new move that you haven't seen before? Oh wow, it's like it does this cool stuff. And you see the robot doing it too. And like the way Chips made the robot like use the abilities was very interesting too. He took the cards and slid them into his helmet. Like only a few entries use the well, not anatomy because he's not a human, but like kind of like the anatomy, how the robot is built, as like part of how he uses his abilities. That's very cool.
100%.
Yeah. All right. So we have one last topic before we get to chat Q&A. So we can talk about our upcoming projects.
Ooh,
I have a few
awesome.
myself, but Moose, you should go first.
Yeah, I could honestly like talk about this for hours if I wanted to, but I am making a sequel to my one Mission Impossible video. I'm gonna do like a shameless plug right here, and like everybody go watch it right now. No, not actually, but yeah, you get it. It's gonna be great. I think it's gonna be like the video that I use to refer back to for any other future video I do. Another video that I'm actually kind of working on is a recreation of a Dragon Ball Z movie scene. So yeah, it's gonna be great. Um I've definitely like I really can't wait because I feel like my animation has definitely like improved dramatically over the months since making a robot collab. So I definitely want to like show everyone that's the case. So yeah, I just can't wait to go back to working on solo projects after this.
All right, that sounds cool.
Yeah, for me, I really have no, I don't really have any plans for upcoming projects, so to speak. Though I do hope that I could maybe do a collab, like a one-on-one collab, like a private thing with a friend, maybe. Maybe some sort of tennis or something. I have been trying to poke Pepper with a stick to see if she'll do something with me, but it hasn't been successful yet. But I'm gonna keep trying.
I mean, I don't know. Just send me an idea.
I already did. We
Okay.
beat each other up at a sleepover party.
Well, I'm getting my PC fixed right now, but yeah, like
Uh-huh,
when it's
okay.
back.
Uh-huh, alright.
All right, Danny. Wait, no, Pepper. My bad. My bad.
yeah.
My bad. My bad.
I was about to-
So
No,
I
let's just
have
skip Pepper. We don't give a fuck.
yeah, I have for all the big sniper fanatics, I have a plot outline ready for Sniper 10 Reborn. All the models are done. I'm planning on starting on the script soon, and I've also got this other series planned out. And I'm teaching myself Blender, as some of the characters are going to be custom models. I'm also working on a tennis with Moose. I can't say the name because if I do, I'm just going to start laughing. But that's okay because it's going to be a surprise. You're all going to have to subscribe to my channel to find out what the name is.
Do it now.
Big peak incoming with sniper.
Yeah. Can't wait for it. Danny?
You know what? I don't have any projects. Not gonna lie.
That's
That
fine.
robot collab, that kind of reminded me of how much of a dedicated process animation is. I'll just sit in the back and wait in the shadows until the opportunity comes up again.
Recharge your energy, right?
I guess, but
Yeah. All right.
we'll see.
Yeah, that's cool. All right. So I have 2 upcoming projects. One of them is called Ability Master. And if you watch stick figure animations back in the day and you've been following what Hyun's Dojo has been making, like the people in there, it's like a whole other community. But like there's some really good stuff being made. And in the past few years, this new 5-part fighting series called Weapon Master has been like made. And it's just a really good series. If you like 2D animations with like a focus on weapon mastery, go check it out. Like there's like 5 of them, so go look at them. But yeah, Ability Master is very inspired by it. The name is almost the same, but it focuses more on like superpowers rather than weapons. I know, original, right? But I think if I do this in Gmod, I will have the freedom of like easy 3D angles. I won't be really restricted so much on the 2D plane. I know you can do 3D in like stick animations, but I've heard that's very complicated. The other project I have is it's a tentative name, but it's called Sulfur and the Bounty Hunter. So it's a continuation of Sulfur's story. I know I made Sulfur specifically for Rush Combat, but I would like to continue his lore a little more by taking him out of the Amalgam Dimension and introducing like a time skip. So there's going to be like a new rival. She is like a bounty hunter that's after him and controls magnets. Yeah. All right. So we have some Q&As from the chat, and we have them so we have some questions that we can answer from the chat. The first one is from CA64, and he asks, did you script your entries before making them?
I definitely think that was like my biggest mistake for the finale. I didn't actually choreograph anything. I didn't really plan anything out. It was more just like what do I want the characters to do next? And like that isn't really something good to do for a video as big as mine. You should definitely like have some kind of script or storyboard or something, just so you're not stressing yourself out on like, oh, well, if that doesn't work out, then I'm gonna have to go back and redo this and yada yada yada. And it's just like not really a good position to find yourself in, especially when you're trying to get something out by a deadline.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really did try to have a script. I sat down, I did storyboards, and tried to get my head in the mindset of like, okay, you're gonna have a plan this time. But I come to figure out the more I planned, the less I wanted to do it. I don't know how to explain it, but I just feel like I do better when I don't know what's gonna happen next, because that's just life for you. You don't know what's gonna happen next, and well, I just kind of I sit down, I open Gmod, and I go. That's basically the plan. So I guess the answer is no.
I wish I could show the process, the what I did to kind of just knit together what I wanted for the robot collab entry, because basically what I did was I opened up Notepad and I just write down what I wanted to have happen next. Just like very general basic scripts and like the keyframes I wanted things to happen on. I'd write down notes for my save in case I forget to do lighting or add a certain effect or set fizz timescale. So it was all extremely chaotic. I basically didn't have a script. I just had notes to remind myself what to do.
Uh, I did a I did have a script for the entry. It was like done in May around, where I sent like a really big message, and then we made our changes and did it. But the issue is we kind of had to. I think it might have been a little too ambitious because, like I said, we were supposed to cycle through 3 times, and we were all supposed to get like three each, the three of our own animation bits in each. Instead, we only got like one or two, but it got dumbed down a lot, and I had to improvise a lot near the end. But yeah, the most of the script, most of the jokes were scripted. The action choreography was not that scripted. It was in my head, and then I had to work with what I had.
Yeah, I often work just straight from my head too. I scripted my Rush Combat 2 entry, or my portion of my entry with Mid Mask, and it worked out very well, but I didn't feel like I could efficiently make a storyboard for Robot Collab this semester. So I kind of went with the flow and did what I thought would be coolest. All right. Our next question is from Nasty Spider, and it's specifically a question for Moose. So, do you have any advice or lessons that you've learned for hosting a collab?
So when you're coming up with the structure of your collab, make absolute sure that you understand what your structure should be and what you exactly want to do. So the biggest problem that I had with my entry is that I wanted to incorporate everybody's entry into it somehow. So if I had somebody for life reasons or whatever, if they decided to, hey, I'm not going to make an entry, and I already animated the robot using their ability, that kind of puts me in a tough spot. So what I would say is create a rule set, stick to it, and think long and hard about how exactly you want your collab to be structured. Should it be a closed collab? Should it be open? Should it be separated into teams? What should people be assigned? How can they handle it? Etc. Etc. So this might seem very placeholder, like a very ordinary response, but it's ordinary for a reason. Just absolutely just like stick to it.
All right. Yeah, that's cool. Okay, our next question is from Lol Scorpion. And he asks, do you think this collab will make you animate more fighting? I actually want to answer this one first, if you guys don't mind. I think it will. Yeah, I think it will. The Robot Collab and other ones like Rush 1 and 2 have really gotten my fighting animation spirit like active, and I really want to make these like crazy ideas that I've had in my mind. So that's what I'm doing with my next two projects.
It's my turn, right?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I've grown very attached to fighting animations, and I think like every project that I'm doing has some kind of fighting in them. Fighting is just like such a versatile thing that like you can animate anything, and it can be considered a fight. So like for Mission Impossible 2 example, it's gonna follow like a shonen anime protagonist kind of structure where there's different characters fighting different people, and like that makes up a good majority of it.
Uh, well, I haven't animated any more fighting for when I did Rush collab, and I didn't really animate very much for fighting for Robot collab. I don't know. I think I'm gonna have to just ride the fence on that one, because if you consider stuff like throwing like anvils at people fighting, then yes.
I think it depends on how you animate that.
I
Yeah,
don't.
I would like to see if you have any others planned.
Yeah, I would too.
Ever.
I don't think that this collab will make me animate more fighting, just because that's already all I do. Like that's why I joined. It was like, ooh, fighting animation collab, sure.
Yeah,
So that's my answer.
I relate to that kind of. Dandy.
This collab that absolutely made me motivated to do more fight scenes if I, ever get to around animating more. Because like when I was done with the collab, I had to like stay up a bit, and the last 5 hours was such an adrenaline rush. And by the time I was done, I was like, oh, I don't think I'm gonna be animating for like at least like 6 months. Obviously, that was not the case, but after seeing everybody's entry, it was just I and seeing how people like my entry, I definitely do want to do more fight stuff.
Cool. Yeah, that's awesome to hear. So our next question is also from Lol Scorpion, and it's specifically one for Dandy. So, are you planning to work more often with Drama King and Toasty in the future?
Uh, Hopefully, yes. Do want to, but not immediately. I do want to do some stuff by myself because I really don't want to drag anybody down with me. I don't want like progress to be lost or delayed because I just like I was too lazy or not in it. But yeah, I guess we could more often. It was really fun when we did it in Robot Club.
All right. So, our next question is from Merciless, and he asks, "Is working with friends on Gmod projects the new meta?" Moose, do you want to
Yeah,
go first?
yeah. So I absolutely think so. I personally would rather just like work on projects by myself because like I feel a sense of duty when I work with other people. But yes, like if you want to get things done, then I do recommend like teaming up with people, and it might as well should be just like the new norm when it goes for, especially for bigger videos.
I mean, I'm kind of confused by the question, because I mean, friends have been already working with each other. I mean, that's always for me, that's always how it's been, right? It's just
Yeah.
natural. Friends work with other friends in varying ways, and I think it'll continue to be that thing as long as humanity continues to be so social.
Getting a little philosophical. I like it though.
Yeah, sorry. I'll stop.
No, it's cool.
Don't worry, don't worry.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I agree with that, but I also think there's also a lot of animators who primarily work solo and have never done a collab, never tennis, never spoken to another person. So I think that's what Merciless was referring to. And I do feel like Rush 2 kind of kickstarted something. I don't know. Maybe it's having worked in Rush 2 and then Robot right after, and seeing people work together. But I do think that it might become the new meta. I'm not sure.
Curious. Danny, any thoughts?
I do want to say though that like I really like it when there's been plenty of moments in collabs where like two people you would never expect to be working together or work each other, and it's like lightning in a bottle, and they just pull something like really great off. It just works perfectly. This has happened so many times, and yeah, some people do like working alone, but I think we might start to see more friends on Gmar projects working. Mostly, I mean, this is mostly in regards to collaborations, like big open or closed collabs. Because stuff like Rush 2 did encourage a lot of, cooperation and being assigned with people you might not be familiar with. And I do think that we'll start to see more of it, hopefully, because it can create some really good results sometimes.
Yeah, I agree. I think working together, as Mega said, it's always been like a thing. It's just depending on like if the person prefers that or not. But as long as there are more collabs that produce really great content, I think more people might be inspired to do it. I wouldn't say I don't have any specific thoughts about whether it would be better or like a meta or not, but we might see more. I don't know. All right, so we have a few questions that we can all answer at once from Vigar and Mr. The Shadow One. So they've asked about if we prefer private or public collabs, and if the robot collab being private was the right call.
I personally believe that the collab being private was a good call because I it gives me like a lot less people that I have to like coordinate with. If this was, I don't really like see any world where this could be a public collab, considering what exactly I wanted to do for my entry, and also it just like lets me coordinate with people better. Like so like let's sorry, let me collect myself.
Sure.
Let's say, for example, somebody wants to have something in their entry, right? And that really doesn't line up with the rules. So like, oh hey, I have to correct them. And that actually did like happen a few times. Don't really think I think if this was like a public collab, then there would be a lot more people, and I think that kind of quality control could not be possible with that kind of thing.
Yeah, I second that, Moose. It's just easier to regulate. Conventional wisdom shows that, the more private you are, you can handle all the different people making entries, and you can check for the rules. Like if they're breaking rules, you can be like, oh, you gotta fix that. And you're not just taking like anyone in from YouTube or whatever, and they're gonna be like, I'm gonna put all the instead of doing this, I'm just gonna make it all squidlings, and there's nothing you can do about it. Oh, is that what they're called? From Splatoon.
I think so.
It's like, oh, this is the pots and pans collab. We're only doing pots and pans, and like, oh, did you say inklings? I'm just gonna animate inklings.
Did you say horses and dogs
Yeah,
and
horses and
cows
dogs and cows and pee.
and baby? Pepper, any thoughts?
Yeah, I think again, I don't really prefer private or public collabs. It's more about whether the topic appeals to me. But I definitely think that Robot being private was the right call, considering the rules and guidelines that went into it compared to other collabs.
I don't think like there's an answer to which collab is like what kind of collab is better objectively, but I do prefer private collabs because those are generally much more easier to manage. And with public collabs, you have a lot more factors, a lot of stuff that could go wrong, and a lot of stuff has gone more wrong with public collabs. But yeah, just private collabs are also just generally good practice if you're a collab host wanting to get into it.
Yeah. I personally prefer private collabs too. They're just easier to coordinate with everyone, especially with robot. Because Moose specifically wanted the robot to have like a specific set of powers from all the other entries or other entries in general. If it were public, it would have been very hard to communicate with everyone. Hey, what are
Impossible.
you doing? Impossible, yeah. It would be immovable.
I think
But I'm.
I
Yeah,
think
sorry,
it
yeah.
being like
Go ahead.
an hour long is what makes it. The fact that it only has 18 enemies is kind of what makes it special. I think
Yeah.
it was handled very well.
it gives people more time to shine. It feels like a house project or a specifically crafted group, even if it's not.
Yeah, I feel like if you have a lot of entries, kind of gets to be too overwhelming for the average viewer.
Yeah.
Action collabs go by really fast, so that hour did not feel like an hour even.
Yeah. That's because when you watch animation collabs or animations, you watch it again and again and again. Anyway, if nobody else has anything to add for this question, we can move on to the next one. So from Mid One Channel, they ask, "What was a difficult shot from something that you were really proud to pull off, entry or otherwise?"
So I can think of specifically two shots from the finale that were kind of hard to pull off. The first shot would be like when the robot is kind of like dodging Brim's hammer swing, and then he like jet boosts into him and like flies him across the map. I remember like having so much trouble. Like I was still new at like camera movement at the time, so I remember having so much trouble trying to make that look good. And it was actually Dandy who pointed out, hey, you kind of have to make the camera kind of like lag behind the person before you like uh let them fly off so that it tracks better, and that helped it out so much. I think the second part of my entry that I had a lot of trouble with would be like just like any, well, I guess like second part just in general, just like having Brim kind of like do a hurricane kick. He does it twice in the entry, and I remember both times being like particularly hard to like understand the gravity and weight of so that it looks believable.
Sounds good.
Yeah, very cool. So, on this question, just first of all, shout out to Mito. He's my good friend, and he's been my friend for a really long time. And he just now was getting into Gmod animation. He made one. It's about Family Guy and Silent Hill or something. It's very funny. I know Moose in particular enjoyed it. So shout out to him. You should check him out. But
It's
onto
a
the
really good.
question. Yeah, onto the question. I don't. It's a very simple shot. When you look at it, but for some reason, the shot where in my entry, PP is holding up that potion to Sucklet, and Sucklet goes like phew, like into the bottle and hits it and gets knocked back and wiggles around. For some reason, maybe it was because I was trying to get over the cold or something, and I was just having a brain fog. But something about that was super difficult and intricate to get just right. But I'm pleased with it. Yeah.
That was cool. Pepper?
Uh, there, I wouldn't say it was a difficult shot because I can't remember any shots that were particularly difficult, but there was one that I was really proud of where near the end of my entry, when the robot comes out of the portal and then the camera pans over and Chainsaw Merc jumps out of another portal, it the way I rotated the camera and angled it made made the floor seem circular, and that would I always love watching that part. I think that's like my definitely one of my favorite parts of my entry.
Uh, the the semi difficult shot that I was really proud to pull off was the part at the beginning of my entry where I made the robot. I made Doorman ram into the robot, and they both fell through a door that was a portal, and they ended up on the side of a building, and then they started falling, and that was when the robot cat caught himself on the building with himself and then chased Doorman with his rocket.
I love that part.
That didn't even take me that long, but I was just it was really fun seeing like how I managed to pull something like that off because I didn't think I'd get that good of a control with camera work. But yeah, it was I really liked doing that and watching it in the end and how people reacted to it when I was in DC watching it.
Nice. Yeah. I'm glad everyone had so much they were proud of in this collab. As for me, I was really proud of I think it was the third shot right after you see like the intro of like the robot teleporting in, walking in, and you see these clone snipers appearing. Right after that, right when they start fighting, two snipers go. Well, one sniper approaches the soldier, tries to kick him, while another sniper behind, like in the background, is running and jumping to get an advantage on that soldier. I was really proud of that part because I had never animated like three characters interacting at the same time. And while I think there are some pacing issues, I wish I gave each like sniper clone a bit more focus. I think it turned out really well. So maybe I'll practice more on that in the future.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Thanks, man. All right. So our next question is from Toasty. And this question is, how many SMH saves do you make when you animate? How frequently did you make them, and did you overwrite any of them during the collab? So I'd actually like to answer this question first, because this might be a sentiment that's shared by many animators for Gmod. I make a save for every scene I have, and sometimes duplicate saves, just like in case I try something risky and I need like a backup to come back to. So in total, I think that came out to be like maybe like 20 saves, 15 to 20 saves for Robot Collab. I usually like overwrite a save when I feel like I've made good enough progress on a specific scene, and I name them like just generally like what is happening in the scene. Maybe like, oh, like robot flying.
So, for my part, I don't exactly have it. I know a specific number, 74, and that's because I used to literally number my SMH saves. So it'd go from uh uh Brim kicks robot, Brim's the name of the fighter, Brim kicks robot 1, and then it's just like a description followed by the SMH save file name. I ended up changing that because I overwrote a really important animation file that I had to come back to. So that kind of screwed me over a little bit. So I just cut the numbering thing and just started doing descriptions. So I think like the actual number of different SMH save files I had would easily be about like 100. If I was insane, I'd probably say like 200, knowing me.
Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah, I do the same thing that Moose did. I will have the name of the project 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for every save, and sometimes I forget to save some sequences, like if they're really small and it's inconsequential. I guess that's really bad habit. Don't do that ever. You have to save every time. I'm just really bad at it. But I, my projects are really small scale and stuff, so I probably don't do more than like 20. I know that sounds weird, but yeah.
I think in the robot collab, I must have made around 20 saves. And basically, what I do is I'll just name the save like a title that pertains to the topic of the animation. I think I called it robot, and then I just numbers. And what I would do is every time I render a save, I would take the screenshots from that save and I'd put it in a folder for that video. So that way, if I need to know which numbers which, I can just go into that folder and look at the screenshots in there.
So I save every 500 frames. Well, I mean, not exactly, but it's usually always around that. And I don't, maybe longer if the action shot is longer, but I could not tell you how many saves I made because I have a really bad saving method. I have really bad saving methods. Like, it was basically just Robot Collab 1, Robot Collab 2, and then I did Do Robot Collab 2. And right now, I'm pretty sure I showed some of you guys earlier, but right now my list of SMH saves looks like A,
Oh dear
1,
lord.
and you get the idea.
That sounds like Wheatley's
disaster.
passcodes in Portal.
Like the, but yeah, just save with caution.
Yeah, I like to save a lot. I prefer more than too little. All right. So I know we're going a little over time. So this is going to be our last question for the night. I know there have been a lot of questions, and I'm sorry we couldn't get to all of them. But the last one is specifically related to like podcasts in general. And this one's from JP Stop Motion. And he asks, how do you summon courage to speak in a podcast? So, as the host, I want to answer this one first because I started out in, well, I've only been in one other podcast, but in that one podcast, I wasn't feeling courageous, but I tried to throw myself out there as much as I could. So, I think for a podcast, if you have been selected or you are already going to be in one, what you should do is remember to speak slowly. If you go too quickly and you want to get all, like, I understand you might want to get all of your thoughts out there before you forget. But I think a good thing to do is maybe take notes. A few bullet points is fine of what you want to touch on. And just take your time. Because if you go too fast, you might trip on your words and you might just have awkward moments, or you might forget about things, or you might panic. Worst case scenario, of course. Yeah.
So, yeah, I can answer this question. Honestly, like, you don't really need to summon courage in the podcast if you just like pretend that the podcast isn't there. Another thing that really helps me out is just like talking with my hands almost. Like, like I just like move my hands around. I don't really know why it helps, but it does. And yeah.
Cool. Awesome.
Just to
Any
make
thoughts
it
by
really
that?
short and sweet, just don't think about it too much. Sort of the same thing Moose is getting at. It's just pretend it's not that big a deal, and then it won't be.
Yeah. Natural's good.
Yeah,
Pepper, any thoughts?
I don't really get stage fright in general. I just kind of treat it as a regular conversation. But
Pepper's too good for stage fright.
yeah, yeah, that's it. I mean, like I also took a speech class, so I guess that helps.
Nice. Danny, any thoughts?
So I'm sure you guys remember I said a little bit before this podcast went live. I was like, the first prompt is going to be really hard to get through, but everything is going to be smooth sailing, and that was
Yeah.
absolutely true for me. I just have some music in the background, and I just talk about, you know, contributive stuff. It just like stuff that makes you like lose track of yourself, and I mean, you also just gotta not be harsh on yourself. Like if you stutter or lose yourself in a sentence, just don't act too impulsively about it, and just move on, I guess.
Yeah, like take a breath. Maybe start over the sentence if you must.
Because like after the first prompt, I just like got settled and I started playing music in the background. I was like, it's pretty nice.
Awesome. All right. So thank you everyone for coming to the podcast tonight. We hope you enjoyed it. Special thanks to Laghart for being our streamer, and Camouflage and Vigar for being our behind-the-scenes organization.
Shout out to the groundhog. Love you, buddy.
Groundhog.
I want to shout out to Groundhog.
Oh, I'm
You
sorry.
already did.
Moose, I'm gonna nope, not gonna say it.
All right.
Moose,
Good night,
I'm gonna-
everyone.
Yeah,
Good night.
See you.
See you guys.
Yeah.